Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Time Loop. I am excited about this next guest that we have coming on here. So this is an old high school buddy of mine. Actually, I went to high school with my brother, but we've known him for years and years and years. And he has now relocated, living his best life over in Japan. And we're going to talk to him about that. And we're also going to talk about the latest thing that he's doing now, which is he's written a couple of books over the last couple of years and diving into a whole new thing here. So really excited to welcome to the show Broc Sewell. Hey, welcome, Broc. Thanks for coming to join me on the Time Loop.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Micah. I'm quite thrilled to be here. It's my very first interview, so.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that you started with the best right out of the gate.
Yeah, I had to. One
Okay,
option for
so
that.
well, so for those who don't know you, because you've been out for a long time, and so you went to high school with us in Kellyville, graduated in what was it, 2007?
2006.
Six, okay, and then like from there, like immediately launched out and started doing things, and so give everybody kind of a rundown of what you've been doing since, you know, 20 years ago now.
Well, first, with your younger brother and I, we all went to the same university, went to OSU.
Mm-hmm.
Did my degree there, got some year in graduate school, and then right after that, I moved to Japan. That was 2011. And I didn't really know much about Japan at the time, but I just chose it because it was the first place that looked quite kind of intriguing and offered me a job. So I went, found out that I was quite awesome, quite nice here. And I spent 7 years doing a few different random jobs. And then after that, I moved to Europe because I hadn't been to Europe yet. So I thought it would be a good idea to check it out. Uh, Spent some time in Italy, then Czech Republic. Then after that, I decided that right about 2020, the January 2020 was a good year to start doing a digital nomad situation. And that didn't work out very well. I had a few months in Greece and then got locked down in Germany for most of the year, which was fun, but also lockdown was lockdown everywhere. So it wasn't too much fun. And then after that, I moved to Korea. That was right in the middle of COVID, which was a story in and of itself, if I'm being honest. And then
Yeah.
back to South Africa with my partner, who's South African, and then spent about a year there. And then now I'm back in Japan because I don't know, just something here just always makes me happy.
I'm curious about the like the methodology behind why you decided to make these decisions. You know, a lot of us, I think it's a statistical fact that most of us never really leave even the city that we're born in. You know, we stay in the area, and you are here just flying off to parts unknown. I don't know if you were doing a lot of research. It really kind of seemed like you were just decided, like you said, about going to Europe. Well, I've never been to Europe. Let's go see what that's like. So, where did you get that kind of I don't know, that kind of gumption and stuff to be able to do that? What drove that?
I don't know. It's something that's always kind of been inherent in me, just like a restlessness that just needs to constantly keep seeing and doing new things. So once I've been in a place for a certain amount of time, I start getting that itch again. And it
Okay.
doesn't really matter where I go as long as I'm just keep moving. And it reminds me of the one of and like I'm just quickly jumping into the book because it was perfect apropos to this moment. But one of my characters says a line that I always kind of sticks in my head. It's that I don't know what I'm chasing, but I hope I never find it. And that's kind of how I just feel about it. Just like there's this inherent need to chase something, and whatever it is, I can't figure it out. But it's just nice to be in that mode.
So I guess are we starting to get into the story of your characters? I guess are they also kind of like you in that way, where they're kind of, I don't know if flighty is the right word, but always chasing, always on a journey somewhere.
Flighty is the right word for it because they are sky pirates. But
Okay.
it's kind of funny that you jumped on that on your own without knowing yet. But yeah, I think a big part of, especially my two main characters, they're pretty flighty, pretty restless, always chasing something, chasing adventure. So I think that's part of me that I wrote into them, if I was to guess.
Well, now let's dive into it then. So you started writing the first book in 2011, and it finally came out. When did it come out exactly? Like just a couple of years ago, right? Or last year, maybe?
Yeah, the first manuscript itself, I've finished that probably like 2015. I wasn't writing
Okay.
full time because I was living in Japan, so it was definitely a back burner, but I was constantly chipping away at it quietly. But then I got it finished, and my first thought was, I want this on bookshelves. So I knew that I had to go the right way about it. So I was going to hire an editor, a professional editor. And I thought, oh man, it's not going to be so bad. Then I found out the price of an editor, finding
Yeah.
out that there are 3 or 4 different stages of editors, and each one of them cost roughly the same amount of money, which is about $2,000 to $3,000 a piece each time. And I had to slowly afford that. And then once that happened, I was trying to get a literary agent, and I spent about, oh man, 2.5 years chasing that. And then I got a
Wow.
literary agent. And that was a very, very nice moment. This was right before actually Corona. And we spent the next couple of years after that putting it out. Basically, she started doing the job I was doing, which was creating these query letters that she would send out to the publishers, because publishers don't talk directly to writers at all. They won't do it, or very rarely won't. So they need the agent, who's basically like the vetting process, that being like, okay, this person's got an agent. They're good enough to pay attention to. We'll read the query letter from the agent. So she started doing that job, and there was me just cooling my heels for 2 years while we're doing that. Blank, long periods of silence, which is very standard, followed by, oh, we really loved it, but, or like, oh my God, I love this so much, but we just changed this. There's always those near misses. And then just waiting, writing book 2 in the meantime. But that's why it took so long to come out. And then
Okay.
last, was it 2024? I decided to part ways with my agent because things were still kind of stalled out, and take things on my own, because I heard from a friend who also did the same thing. She went independent, and she suggested that I do the same, launch a Kickstarter, see how it goes. She put me in touch with a managing company that runs that sort of thing, because I didn't know where to start with that. And that's why it only came out last year. It's been done for a long time, but only last year was the time I decided to go, no, this is now.
Okay. All right. Just a side note here, I'm kind of wondering what was it like to hear from publishers? I mean, was it a little bit heartbreaking or something to hear that all these people were like interested, but they wanted you to make changes? And how did you deal with that? Because I don't think any of us, I've never gone through that kind of process of writing a book for one thing and then going through, and handing it to somebody and having them give you maybe not great feedback.
Well, let's put it this way: writing a book is extremely hard, especially if you're creating your own kind of fantasy world. Actually, I wouldn't say especially. I don't actually know what it's like to write a nonfiction book, so I'll just shelve that statement. It's just very hard to write a book, I think, in general. But
Okay.
I would write 5 books with no complaint to ever go down the route of trying to do the literary agent publishing path again, because that is soul crushing. For an agent, you craft a query letter that's, you know the first 2 paragraphs are just your pitching your book, just making it, tweaking sentences, structure, making this thing perfect to fire, because you have about 10 seconds to catch their attention, or they throw it to the next, trash. They throw it to the
Hmm.
next one. And they literally call it the slush pile. That's just this huge pile of slush that they have to wade through every single day, because an agent doesn't get paid until you get paid. So they're very selective about who they take on. So I think I sent out probably 140 query letters between 140 different agents. And that's going to each one of their pages, figuring out about them in particular, going, oh my God, this is a
Uh,
perfect fit. No, they're closed to queries. I can't query them right now. Or, oh no, they only do speculative fiction. Or, oh no, it's only urban dystopia. And you just think, okay, never mind, back
it's
to the drawing board. Then when you make that list, you find out what about them is interesting and intriguing, and you incorporate that into the hook, so they're like, oh, okay, this person actually knows a little bit about me. You go to their Twitter and you're like, okay, they like dogs, they have a dog named Trixie. Okay, and you can just be like, oh, okay, hey, how's it going, so and so, I hope Trixie's doing well, and then jumping into it, just these little kind of tricks that you pick up along the way to try to get their attention. And
Mhm.
then the worst part, the waiting, because they will literally often say on their page, if you don't hear from us for 3 months, consider it not going to work out, not our taste. And so you just wait for 3 months of silence, and you have no idea. And
You just wait to never hear back.
yes, I have not heard back. Technically, I'm still waiting on about 90 of them to see if they're interested or not. And then the other of that last, 10%, I would say 8% of them reply with "Dear author," and that's when you know it's not going to go well. And then it's like canned, pre-recorded information, such as like, "Oh, there's a lot to like here," or "Oh, at this time, it's just not a right fit." And you think, "Okay, back to the drawing board." And it gets kind of frustrating because you never quite know. You're like, okay, what's wrong? Like, what do I need to fix about this? Is it too long? Is something about it not catching? And you keep wondering. And then the agent that I actually eventually did sign with, she actually was one of the very few that replied by name, like, "Oh, Brock, this is really good. I quite like this, but this is the issue." And it wasn't very much, but it was enough for me to latch on to. So I just, with a fervor, just kept telling her, "I'll take that bet," because she said it was too long. So I went back and I carved, 60,000 words from the manuscript, which was a task. That's a lot to cut from a manuscript.
Yeah, holy cow.
But finally getting that took about 2.5 years, and that was, yeah, pretty soul crushing. But I got it in the end, and it was very nice. And then the whole process began anew. But this time I didn't have to see and write the letters. I just had to wait and get the eventual feedback. And sometimes it was quite nice. They still send the same canned responses. In the beginning, I was thinking to myself, "Well, that's the same thing. It's nothing." But my agent told me, no. When publishers say that, they actually mean it. When they say there's a lot to like here, they'll actually say nothing if it's not very good. So they're a lot less polite, she says. But I was so sad because Disney almost picked it up, but they just thought, "Oh, it's just not quite right." But they were really, really close. And then Tor, or I forgot, it was Tor was close, and there was one other one who was most intriguing, and they said, "We love it so much, everything about it. We would sign it tomorrow, but we're moving away from epic fantasy." And it was just soul crushing after months of waiting.
Yeah, it would be like, I would rather not hear from you if you're going to tell me all this stuff about how you love it so much, but we're going a different direction. Okay, so I'm guessing that is what caused you to go from the idea of having it picked up by a major publisher to launching your own Kickstarter then. Tell us about what that was like.
Yeah, so I had the original idea that it will one day be on shelves, that I would go the fast track to getting it in Barnes and Noble. But I had to kind of put that dream on hold, at least for now, because those bookstores don't often talk to independent authors until you get to a certain echelon of popularity. And so I'm just slowly going to have to build my way to that. But last year we launched the Kickstarter, and I had no idea what I was doing. But luckily, I had that managing company that kind of helped guide me in what I should do. And they really offered a lot of good advice as far as how I should lay things out. But everything that was had to be put to the page was me, so that was genuinely kind of terrifying because I had no idea how it would be received. But luckily and very surprisingly, it really took off quite well last year, and we were able to not only get the full funding we needed in the first 12 hours, but we actually were able to get our
Wow.
last stretch goal, which was the audiobook version. Because again, sometimes you just shoot your shot, and I cold emailed Michael Kramer and Kate Redding, who are two of the biggest fantasy narrators in existence. They do things like Brandon Sanderson's books and Wheel of Time series, and I just cold emailed them. I was like, "Hey, I have this book here. Would you want to read it and narrate it?" And they'd said, "Oh yeah, send a copy of it along, and we'll see if we like it." And they messaged back about a week later and said, "Yeah, we like it. We'll do it." And of course, I had to
Wow.
pay them, so that's what the Kickstarter was for.
Oh, okay. Still though, that's amazing. And so that one is done though. The audiobook and everything available for that one?
Yes, it's on Audible.
Awesome. Okay. And so then was there always a plan to do a second book? It looks like there's maybe even plans to do more books after this.
Mm, that is correct. So the original idea was it was going to be a series, and I knew it
Okay.
was always going to be a series. I didn't know how many books there were, but then as the story started taking shape and certain thematic elements started coming into play, I knew for a cold fact that it would be 8 books.
Okay. And so the second book that we have now, did it pick up right where the first one left off, or is it like maybe a different character story, or um,
Uh,
what is
No,
it?
it takes place right after the events of the first book. It's going to be a continuative story, so yeah, it'll take place one after the other, depending on some time jumps that might occur naturally in the story. But yeah, it'll be one sequential story.
Okay. Now I saw on Kickstarter that this one actually got funded in just a couple of hours, right? It didn't take long at all to hit the goal that you had. So that's awesome. That's going to make you feel good.
Yeah, it's a weird anxiety is a funny thing because going into it, I thought to myself, you know what? I have not done enough this time. I have not prepared enough. I have not put the word out enough. It's not going to go so well. And then 2 hours later, it's like, okay, no, it's gone fairly well. And then you think, okay, now brain, you can relax. It's okay, brain, you've got this. And then you have other worries. You're like, okay, well maybe this, maybe that. And so it never quite goes away. I actually have a copy of it right here. I don't know if we'd want to see it, but it's called
Yeah, we
Fair
want
with
to see
Fortune.
it. Show it.
Yeah, it's called Fair with Fortune. This is the paperback version. It's quite nice. It's available on my website.
Oh,
And then there's actually the deluxe edition as well, which is the hardback one. It's got a lot of fancy features. Yeah, and it's got like the cool features like the sprayed page edges, and it's got art inside, and like a color interior, reversible dust jacket, hardcover stuff like that. So yeah, it's the first book, Fair with Fortune, in the Legends of Sora series.
and the new book is called what again?
Fury's End,
Fury's
book
End.
number
Okay.
2.
All right. Well, I'm excited, man. It looks like you guys, I mean, all of the struggle and everything that you did, that you went through over the last several years to get this thing out there, and then to see it get picked up, and then also to see like your second Kickstarter get funded so quickly, it makes me feel good about maybe the Legends of Sora has a long life ahead of it. And we got several more books coming. Are you already planning on anything? Do you think that the book three already in the works?
Yeah, I've already got so back in this the period of trying to get the word out to publishers, my agent kept coming up with ideas and things I should do to move the needle forward. So she had me write a series proposal, which was basically the a brief synopsis of every book going forward. So I sat there, and this was back during COVID when I was stuck in Germany, and there was a little brief window in the summer when all the cafes opened and everyone was pretending that everything was going to be okay. That every day I would go to this cafe and just pound it out, just think about how the story's going to go, all the big highlighted hits of what would happen, what characters would live, what characters would die, like what would happen. And then I started thinking about the names. So all 8 books are already planned out. The bones
Okay.
of them are there. And now I just need to go in and fill it in.
Okay. So, well, you've got some work ahead of you, but I think anybody who's read the books now is going to be excited and looking forward to the next ones. So, anyway, so Brock, your Kickstarter campaign for this one, for the second one, it ends in just a few days, I think, right?
Yeah, it's got 2 more weeks ahead of it. It'll
Oh, okay.
end on August 4th.
Okay. So anybody who wants to get in on that, they can still go and contribute and support that campaign through August 4th. And then, of course, go out and buy the first book if you haven't already. That's what I'm going to be doing. And then we'll be sure to include links to the website and the Kickstarter campaign, social media, and all of that as well. So, but Brian, thanks for being here, man. It was really awesome to have you on the show. I do apologize again that we didn't get around to interviewing you for the first book,
No,
but I'm really glad that we caught you for the second one. So that's good.
no, no worries at all, and thanks a lot for having me. And there's one thing I do want to say though that's quite convenient for those people who might want to jump on the first book. The
Sure.
Kickstarter now, I've actually thought ahead and thought maybe people will do that. So they're all actually available on the Kickstarter. So you can get a deluxe edition set of all of the books at a like kind of
Oh,
a cheaper price because it's a bundle.
okay. Fantastic.
And there are
Okay.
several different
Well,
types you can get.
all right, you guys heard it here. So we'll be sure to put a link to all of that out there. And so by the time you guys see this, it should be all be available to you. I guess it's available now, but it'll definitely be available by the time we get this out there. So, Brock, thanks a ton. I appreciate having you on. Hopefully, we'll get to have many more interviews from each of the subsequent books and stuff, and just watch your notoriety in the self-published author world continue to grow and shine.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
A lot
it
less
was.
nerve-wracking than I anticipated.